What's going on? Before we start this video, just a reminder that we are still accepting submissions right now for our first ever film festival. So if you're a horror filmmaker and have a horror short or feature film, consider looking at the link in the descriptions below. It's going to be April 29th and 30th. April 29th will be exclusively digital, whereas April 30th will be live in person at the Alamo Draft House in Winchester, Virginia. So come, please, show us your nightmares. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Victims and Villains. If you guys are new to our content, we are a nonprofit that creates content like what you're watching right now, simply to educate and engage individuals like yourself on mental health awareness and suicide prevention through pop culture. My name is Captain Nostalgia. I am a writer, podcaster, and events coordinator here with the nonprofit. If you guys would like more information about what we do, podcasts we do, and movie reviews, among many other things, click the links in the descriptions below. Today we're going to be talking about the movie Alone with You, which you guys can hit up in limited release theaters beginning February 4th, along with DVD beginning February 8th. Alone with You tells the story of Charlie, a aspiring makeup artist who essentially gets locked in her apartment and, well, slowly begins to lose her mind. There is a little bit more to the movie than just that, but I promise you, the less you know, the more effective this movie is. This movie feels like Buried. Yeah, you remember that Ryan Reynolds movie where he spent the entire time in a coffin and it was just him on screen for 90 minutes trying to keep the audience entertained with just him? This movie feels like that mixed with The Woman in the Window. And Emily Bennett, not only was she a co-writer, a co-director, but she also stars in this movie. And yes, there are a couple other cameos, one from her partner, another from her best friend, but the majority of this movie is just her. She is having to spend the time with the audience and really convince them that she is slowly losing her mind, and all of these, the entire walls of her life are essentially coming down on her. I have to say, Bennett really does do a incredible service to this character. This movie wouldn't be as strong if it wasn't for her. Her performance really elevates the simplicity of the story, and just kind of getting to go along with some of her fears and anxieties, and you're taking on this roller coaster ride with this character. You can't help but really connect and bond with Bennett. She just does a really fantastic job in this role. And I'm also going to say that the artistry of this movie really helps it also elevate from just a simple story of a woman slowly losing her mind in the four walls of her apartment. I feel like while Bennett's performance is strong, if this film didn't embrace some of the cinematography choices that it does, this film wouldn't have been as effective. It wouldn't have been as interesting. It wouldn't have been as gripping as it truly ends up being. It crafts tension really well. There's a scene between Bennett and her on-screen mother, played by Barbara Compton, in this movie, that slowly starts off just very casual, very nice, and then just slowly just devolves and just gets very uncomfortable to sit through. There are several sequences in this film that just take that very simple concept and just very meaningful exchange between characters, or just kind of innocence, and really expand it to just be really uncomfortable. I can say the third act in this movie is one of the most uncomfortable, just terrifying, just psychedelic films that I've seen in a long time. Now, while I've said a lot of positive things about this film, it's not without fault, but they are very far and few between. My biggest complaint about this movie is that while it's gorgeous, while it's well written and well acted, there's something about it that just feels empty and hollow. Like there's a certain aspect of this movie that in the long run just kind of feels forgettable. And I really hate to say that because, like I said, I really appreciated looking at this film and But this is just one of those kinds of movies that just feels like a one and done kind of thing. And that honestly sucks to say, but there's not a whole lot about this particular character that makes me latch onto her and connect to her on an emotional level. And there's nothing also too for her that really makes me want to cheer for her. That said, I will say that this is a movie that I do respect. You guys can also check out our interview that we did with Emily, Bennett, and Justin Brooks right here. In that interview, they talked about how this was birthed out of their own mental health experience and response to the pandemic. Like I said, this movie does tension really well, but there's just something at the end of the day that just feels like it's missing from it. So I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 3 out of 5. Like I said, the performances are really strong, the writing's really strong, direction and cinematography and the vision's really strong. It just seems like it's lacking something by the end of the film. And so I am just going to, for this one's mental health moment, I'm actually going to let Justin and Emily speak on their process, because I think that this film meant a good deal to them and also helped them get onto a better creative process and mental health outlet. That said, I'm going to encourage you guys to make sure that you guys are doing something creatively and something that feels rewarding for you, because honestly, it does help and it does feel therapeutic when it comes to mental health. And as always, make sure that you guys click the links in the descriptions below if you guys are struggling with depression, suicide, or self-harm, because we do have resources in the descriptions below. Thank you guys for checking out our thoughts on Alone With You. I hope you guys enjoy this movie. If you guys have seen this movie, I know I did some festival rounds last year. Make sure that you guys let us know in the comments below. Love to hear what you guys had to say. Have a good night, guys.